Hey, my friends, welcome to Reach and Teach. My name is Joanna Fleur, and this is a weekly live show right on Facebook, right where we can all chat with each other, all about how to reach people, and so evangelism, and how to teach people, discipleship, all in the church, and how to use communication tools to do so. This is, I think we're on episode 3 now. I missed a week last week because I was actually, I was in Wales and I was in England and I was in Frankfurt. I had the privilege this past week of seeing what the German church is doing specifically. I was at the Global Leadership Summit in Germany. If you're familiar with Global Leadership Summit, it comes out of Chicago, originally out of Willow Creek Church. And I was with 10,000 people in Germany at this amazing conference. There's speakers from all over, English speaking and German speaking, and otherwise speaking. And it was just amazing to see what's happening in the world of church outside of North America. I think it's easy for us to kind of just get stuck in our own little worlds and just not know what God is doing and what's going on, and even how people are communicating outside of North America. I was reminded when I was there, Craig Groeschel was one of the speakers there. It was great to be with Craig this week. And I was reminded when he was speaking to a group of young influential leaders within the German context. And he was talking specifically about social media, connecting with people on our phones, and doing communication for the church on the internet. He was just talking about what does success look like? And he said, success is being faithful with what we've been asked to do today. Success, if we measure it by how many follows, how many likes, how many comments, all this kind of stuff that we can start to measure on social media. Although it's interesting to look at that stuff and to learn from it so we can grow and get better at what we're doing with our craft. He was reminding these young leaders that the problem with measuring your success in communication by these kind of metrics is you never feel successful. There's always like another hill to climb. There's always another achievement to make. So you say, oh, I'll be happy when I get 10,000 followers or 100,000 followers or that little blue check mark beside my name, whatever it may be. I won't be successful until I get that. But then the thing that happens, which is human nature, is that when you achieve that thing, when you finally get the thing that you said you wanted that was going to make you feel successful, well, of course, there's always going to be somebody else who's doing better, who's got a bigger audience, who's figuring it out better, who's, I don't know, making more money doing it, whatever it may be. And so he said success, and he reminded us success is being faithful with what we've been asked to do today. It's the only time we have. It's the now. It's this moment. And I was just encouraged by that in my own work. And, I think so often we don't feel successful. We don't feel like we're hitting our own standards of what to do with communication. There's so much more we could do. And so I was reminded by that just this week in Germany by Craig Groeschel. So thanks to Craig and his team for coming and putting on such an awesome conference there. We're just south of Frankfurt. If you've been to Germany, has anyone been to Germany? Anyone been to the GLS maybe in Chicago or satellite sites? Leave me a comment. Say hey down below. I'd love to know who's watching and who's signing in. Before we go any further, I figure I should introduce myself if you don't know who I am. My name is Joanna LaFleur. Nice to meet you. I live in Toronto, Canada, and I am a speaker, podcaster, TV host, and a consultant. So I've been working for over 15 years in the local church and in nonprofits and communications, as per this little slide that I've thrown up. Basically, what the heck does that mean? Up until very recently, I was working and serving in a local church. And in 2019, I stepped out on my own to do basically helping with what I've been doing with one church, but helping more churches, as many churches as possible. We learned a ton in about 9 years working together in this local church in the Toronto area, multi-site church. It started as one and grew into many sites, started with no communications department or official title for anybody on that team. And then now it's grown into a full team with tons of people involved. So I went through that journey in this church, and now it's a privilege really to help other churches who are going through that same journey, who are growing and learning all things communications. Jenny Randall, hi, how are you? Hope you're doing great in sunny Florida, where you find yourself. So all to say, I come into the communication space with a business and theology context, and my day-to-day life is in, I have a podcast for you guys. It's for church communicators and creatives called Word Made Digital. You can check that out wherever you listen to podcasts, Word Made Digital. And I do a TV show here in Canada, a women's TV show. It's kind of like The View, only it's The View for Christians. So it's like women debating and having conversations around the couch. But the conversation that we want to have today on Reach and Teach Show is specifically around how to engage and mobilize a congregation around a campaign. So if you're doing specifically a campaign for outreach or evangelism or trying to invite people into meeting Jesus, maybe that's through coming to a church event or through a program you offer or through some way to interact with the people and the life of your church. Because you're a church, I'm going to assume for this that when we're talking about communications, we're probably talking about an event or program. Of course, evangelism is so much more than events or programs, but for the purposes of this church communications group, we're talking about how to use communication tools to help engage your church community in outreach and mobilize them to be part of a campaign. So it's not just the pastor, he or she at the front of the room doing all the work, actually the people of the church doing the work together of communication. And so before we dive into that, I want to remind you of where we're at in the world. We had a radical revolution with the print revolution, changed the church, split the church, Catholic, Protestant, because ideas were being shared in new ways. And so some of that is great, and some of that was hard that we split as a church, the global church 500 years ago. And technology was a big part of why people were able to communicate and get the Bible in their own language for the first time and think through things for themselves and begin to reform the church. We're in the same situation today, but we're in a digital reformation. These suckers that we all have in our hands, hours of the day that we're all using, has radically transformed how we reach people and how we teach people in the church. So there's some bad stuff about that, and there's some good stuff about that. As always, if you want to comment about what's good about that and what's bad about that, I'd love you to keep doing that below. Say hey, tell me where you're from. I'm coming to you from Toronto. You're in my living room, and I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. But something that I talk about a lot when it comes to reaching and teaching people in the digital age is to think about digital stuff, the digital world, as it pertains to people coming into contact with your church, like a dating app. Think of it like a dating app for these reasons. Just like a dating app, the digital world, digital content like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, podcasts, whatever it is that you want to use, gives people an opportunity to connect with a person, an idea, a faith, to be introduced to Jesus and your church, where they might not have ever met you otherwise. So just like a dating app opens up a pool of people you maybe never would have met because you weren't running into them at like church and a friend's birthday party or the local coffee shop. These are people maybe who it's going to broaden your reach of people you might meet. In the same way, the digital world for people who are curious about faith, who are curious and questioning religion and wondering what's going on with that, that's exactly how the digital world can be used like a dating app. It's going to help us be introduced to people we never would have been able to meet. But the point of dating apps, assuming you're not a catfish, assuming you're a healthy person, and you're in it kind of for the right reasons, the point of a dating app is to eventually actually meet in person. You want to meet the person you're dating. Assuming you're a healthy and not creepy person, the point of meeting someone on the internet that you've never would have met otherwise is to meet face to face. And it's the same thing with when we think of that analogy for the church. We might be able to meet people, connect with people, share ideas, introduce people to Jesus, tell people about something awesome as a service or program, a gift to them that might be offered out of our church. I mean, a gift of like, something to support and encourage them as a single mom, or, something to meet a need that they have, like divorce care, whatever it is that we want to care for them and connect them to in our church. Ultimately, it's Jesus. We're going to introduce them to that online, but the point is to meet face to face. I'm still not convinced that the digital world can completely replace the physical. There's something about incarnation. There's something about the tangibility of Christians, that fleshy relation, the face-to-face relationship. For things like, how do you do baptism if you're on the internet? There's things like, how do you take communion or Eucharist together if you're on the internet? There's things that just are even just the basics of how we do church that are by nature physical. And perhaps, years from now in the future, I will be speaking differently about this. But as of today, with today's technology, the goal still continues to be to meet face to face. Just like with a dating app, you might meet someone you've never met before, be introduced to an idea you never would have been exposed to otherwise. But you ultimately want to move that into a face to face or a personal, a real live interaction. And then, just like in dating or a romantic relationship, if you're married or you're in a relationship, or if you just have a friend, you know that digital content and digital tools help facilitate your relationship ongoing. So just like with a dating app, just like digital tools, it's great to help facilitate the relationship. It can be even part of, it can be helping you reach people, and it can help you teach people. But it's not the whole relationship. Just like with dating, you can be, or in a relationship, you can use your phone and your messaging like, don't forget to get milk. We need milk on the way home, honey. Please get it. Or if the mom's away for work, she might FaceTime her kids and connect with them at bedtime. But of course, the digital thing can help facilitate the relationship at a distance. But the goal is always to get face to face. I hope that helps you. If that's an analogy that's useful to you, church communications tools are like a dating app, and the way we use digital tools to reach people can be like a dating app, and the way we can use digital tools to teach people is like how we facilitate digital content in a relationship. We have a romantic relationship, but it's never the relationship. The whole relationship is, of course, when we have as much opportunity as possible, face to face, eye to eye, hand in hand, connecting with one another in the flesh. And so when we talk about how the digital world has transformed how we reach and teach people, it doesn't replace physical connection with people, a real handshake, a real hug, a real eye-to-eye interaction. But it's amazing what really can be done on the internet these days. I'd love to know if people are just joining in. Where are you watching from? What are you doing today? Leave me a message, say hey, give it a like, a heart, a comment, an emoji, whatever you want to do below. I'd love to know who you are and where you're watching from. And if that's helpful to you, that the communications world today in the church is like a dating app. If that's useful to you, I'd love for you to know. This is the kind of thing I would bring to senior leaders in my church and use it as an analogy and sort of a common language for how we would talk about strategies for how we were going to reach and teach people. We would compare it to the dating apps and try to figure out where it fit in the steps of, we're going to meet someone we never met before. The digital world can facilitate that, but how do we move them into the face-to-face, the meetup, the actual in-person connection? I hope that helps you. Okay, so we're talking today, though, around mobilizing around a campaign. So you want to reach people in your community. You have a desire, maybe I'm thinking of Easter coming up. It's obviously a great time and an amazing opportunity to try and reach people in your community with the best news in the world, the news about Jesus. But it can often feel for the leadership like it's just their job, like it's not the church together who are doing the reaching. It's sort of like the one person at the front and maybe the person who's doing social media, and it's their job to reach the city and get them all to come to church. But of course, the church is best operated when we're all serving, when we're all using our gifts, when we're all connecting into what is needed to reach people in the name of Jesus. And so I want to think around some really practical things if you want to mobilize around a campaign. If you want to mobilize people for a campaign to reach people, then it needs to be thought of from like as many angles as possible. And of course, as a classic rule of all these things, if you're in leadership in a church, whether you're a volunteer or a paid leader, by the time you are sick and tired of talking about something, the people of the congregation are just beginning to understand and get and catch on and be excited about the thing that you're talking about. And that's not because people are dumb. People are not dumb. People are very intelligent. We're not talking down to people. It's that people are busy. People are so busy. They got their own life. They got their own concerns. They got their own calendar. They got their own schedule. So by like, if you're trying to mobilize a campaign to reach people for Easter, by like the seventh time you're talking about it, whether that's like at the front or in an email or in a video you're sending out or in a sermon context, whatever. We're going to talk about all that in a minute. Whichever way it may look, by the time you are so tired of talking about it, and like surely people know this by now, right? Like they get it, they get how important it is, and Easter's a big deal, and they should help us reach people. By the time you're getting super sick of talking about it, for most people in the congregation, that's just when it's beginning to dawn on them that it matters, that they should get involved, and that they should help reach people. And so I want to encourage you, if you're not yet tired of talking about Easter, it means your people haven't even got it on their radar yet that Easter is coming and that they might have something to do with engaging their community around the best news in the world, that Jesus has risen from the dead and loves them so much. So when we're thinking about the campaign, specifically Easter is just an example because it's coming up so soon. I can't believe it's already March, by the way. Happy March, everyone. April, Easter is coming up just around the corner. And so the first place, the most obvious place to start attacking something around mobilizing people is within a sermon series. And, we always want to be careful in a sermon series or with sermon illustrations that we're not manipulating the scriptures to say what we want them to say. But if there's an opportunity in times of illustration, in times of storytelling, in times of maybe announcements or pause at the end of a message or the beginning before the message starts for the speaker to talk in the context of the series that you're in about how you want people to be mobilized to tell other people that they got to come to Easter, that it's a time of year that they'd be more likely than any other to want to come, like to actually want to come to church, then anytime you can fit that in, that's great. Then you want to supplement with every other kind of communication that you have time for or can afford. If that's only one other thing, I would say make sure you have a digital place that people can know about the thing you're trying to invite people to. I say digital because it's real cheap, i.e. it's free. But if you have more ways to do it, that's cool too. So the next thing I want you to do is have a Facebook event for the thing that you're trying to invite people to. A Facebook event is free. If you open, I'm doing this assuming that your church has a Facebook page. And so if you have a Facebook page for your church, then for the thing that you're trying to reach people to come to, I would encourage you to make an event for every one of those sort of public facing larger events. You probably don't want to make an event for like every Sunday because it's assumed that it's happening every week. It's a bit repetitive, but anything that's a special event, maybe it's the first night of a alpha program that you do, or a divorce care program, but Easter is the thing that we're kind of focusing on. So when are your Easter services? What's going on for them? Make a Facebook event on your Facebook page. And that immediately gives people the information right where they need it on Facebook, where they probably are like every day. And then it allows them to share it. You're giving people in your church the tools that they need, the empowerment they need to actually be able to go and tell somebody about the event. All they have to do is push that share button, and then boom, like they can select anyone that they're Facebook friends with to invite to the event. Now, inviting someone to a Facebook event can be part of the noise of life. So a lot of people get invited to a lot of events on Facebook, but it doesn't end the conversation. It just starts the conversation. Again, when we went back to how it's kind of like a dating app, how we can think of church digital communications like a dating app, same thing. It's an introduction. It's a, hey, how are you? It's a, hey, I'm over here and something interesting is happening kind of moment, which then when that person, so I've invited someone to Easter at my church through a little Facebook event. I sent it to them in their notifications. They saw it. They saw it in their notifications. They looked at it for a sec. They moved off of it. But then when I see them in person, I would want to follow up with that. I would want to invite them. I would want to remind them, hey, did you get my invite? Maybe I'd want to send them like not the next day, but maybe a few days later, a week later, depending on how much time it is between now and Easter. So we got lots of time now, but like kind of like early April, maybe I'd like message them again. Hey, like I sent you that thing in March, just wondering if you want to come. I think it might be something you'd be really interested in. You could send them a message, you can send them a text, you can send them the private Facebook, you can post it on their Facebook wall, but ideally you might even actually see them in person as a real human being. And then you're following up to the Facebook event invitation with another invitation. And then from there, another way that you can help facilitate and mobilize the church around a campaign like Easter is a print card. It's amazing how just a little card that has, a bright color, it says, Easter at Hope Baptist Church or whatever it is, and the date and the time and the location. Make sure you have the address and the city and the state or province, depending on where you live, on the invite. So often, these cards go out into the world, we don't know where they go, and without some of the real details of information, we're not really even sure where the place is. So we immediately throw it away and don't think about it. So if you could get like a little print card, one of the things I would recommend, if you don't have a lot of money, one of the cheapest ways to do a print card is business card size, just this big. The reason is just there's a lot of companies online, like Vistaprint is one of them, but there's so many companies. If you just Googled cheap business cards or you went to Staples in your local town, there would be lots of people who can really cheaply print off tons, hundreds, or thousands of business cards for you. And what you can do is give everyone in your church. Here's what we've done in my church. We put those little business cards into little packs of like 5 or 10, and we just bound them with a quick elastic. So we had a pack of 10 business cards, wrapped them with an elastic, and we put those little bunches in a big bucket. And we passed the buckets down the aisle. So the pastor is at the front talking about the outreach campaign, talking about Easter, why it matters, why we want people to be invitational, why Easter is such an easy time of year to invite someone to church. It's one of the most likely times someone would come who doesn't normally come to church. And while that's happening from the front, you have this bucket or basket of packs of little invite cards going down the aisles. So someone can take them. They're perfect size to fit in your wallet. They can go in your glove box. They can go in your purse. They can go in your back pocket. And then as you go around life, you can begin handing them out, begin inviting them with the basic information. Even if there's too much information to put right on the card, it could just be the web link to go and get more information. Maybe all you have time for is like the dates and the times and you're invited, or you can come sit with me, some sort of friendly invitation words. And then on the card, it could lead them to get more information on the church website or in a Facebook event or wherever it may be. And so from there, now you've given them another tool to not only remember themselves that it's coming up, but also be equipped in the moment to do something about it. So often we're going through life, people of our church congregations are talking about life with people as they do, and then all of a sudden it occurs to them in the moment, you know what? I feel maybe it's the Holy Spirit speaking to them, or just common sense out of the context of a conversation that, hey, I think it would be great to invite someone to church. I don't even remember when Easter is. Like Easter changes every year. I don't remember what it is and what time is the service and where are they. And we have like multiple services at multiple times and which one has kids ministry offerings. And like, I don't remember any of this. But I got a card in my wallet. I'm going to pull it out. Or, I have the little wallet on the back of my phone. Maybe you pull the card out from the back of your phone and you can offer it to someone. Or you've taken a photo of it. You've taken a photo of it of the card on your phone, and you can send them a photo version of the printed card. I mean, whatever it is, people can do it lots of different ways. But it's just providing people another tool for how to mobilize them around a campaign that really matters. I think the other thing about print, in a digital world like we live in, print should be used sparingly. Well, we're going to talk about that another week, about using print for reaching and teaching people. In my philosophy, I say digital first, but that does not mean digital only. When I say digital first, it means we want to first think of how we can reach people digitally, which is like something like a Facebook event or having a little one-page Easter at hopebaptistchurch.com, where you can have a simple splash page indicating information about the event as you're doing it. But it's really awesome too if you can supplement that and reinforce it with print. Print makes it feel more official. Print, certainly for some generations, it makes it feel like it's a legitimate thing, not just a digital thing. But it also is like a nice, tangible reminder because we don't just have digital relationships. We do also have face to face. And it's nice to equip people. It's important to equip people with the tools that they need. Another thing always can just be a video. And when I say video, it can be as simple as what we're doing here right now. It can be a Facebook Live that someone could film on their computer or get on their phone and talk into their phone. If you don't have the money or the budget or the skill to hire someone to make like a fancy video for your campaign, what would it look like for your pastor to just get on just like I'm doing and say, hey, everybody, I'm Pastor so-and-so. Here's what's coming on for Easter. Your friend wanted you to know that you're invited. Here's a few things you want to know, and here's why I think it could be something really helpful for you and your family. Hey, hope to see you there. And then that little video could be then shared on Instagram. It could be shared on Twitter and Facebook and all these places. And it starts to just be another resource, a simple, cheap, and can even often appear authentic because it wasn't a glossy, fancy video. It was just a simple person-to-person feeling kind of video. And that can also be like an awesome tool. I see that we're running out of time here. So all to say, I want to help you with doing church communications. I want to help you reach people. I want to help you teach people through the powerful tools of communications, digital communications, print communications, verbal communications, whatever I can do to help you. It's my job. It's my passion. If you're looking for how to get a hold of me, you can find me. You can see the link below. Website is joannalafleur.com. Instagram is @JoannaLaFleur, and you could always email me, hello@joannalafleur.com. I love connecting with people here who have been on Facebook. It's a privilege to be able to serve you, to be able to connect with you. And if there's any way that I can help you in what you're doing, maybe you're looking into Easter and you want to run something by someone, you might have an idea or you're wondering what you could do to enhance an idea you're already doing, I'm here. That's why I am here to help you. I'd love to do anything I can to support you in your churches. It's a total privilege to be able to do so. So you can reach out to me on the social medias. You can find me below here. You can just send me a quick email. I'd love to know. Or you can, of course, just leave a comment below. Say hey. And if you have any questions that I wasn't able to address here and you want everyone to know the answer to it, then leave a message below and I'll answer it the next time we're together next week, every Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Reach and Teach Show with Joanna LaFleur. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next Monday.